Okay, Renton here. I've got a little bit of reflection back on the event that we just had in Budapest and the FOP and how the judges went about evaluating people's use of it, what was rewarded, what wasn't rewarded, and just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the judges may have been thinking when looking at the use of the FOP. So what the judges were looking for, as usual, is use of the park. And use of the park is not just using the obstacle and adding this obstacle to another line where you use other stuff. It's seamlessly stringing together one obstacle to the next, to the next, to the next, keeping speed, having power, good execution. And really, it's not necessarily that you're using an obstacle, it's how you're using it and how you're linking together the other tricks. So as usual, it wasn't just good enough to just shuffle between the vert section and the hip and the vert section. I mean, that's the easiest way to skate a park, particularly if you skate half pipes or whatever, just hitting an air on one vert wall, getting over to a hip, hitting the hip, hitting another vert wall, and essentially making a half pipe out of a park. That doesn't cut it. Neither does repeating the same line over and over again. Like figuring out a line and just going back and forth between that same line over and over again. I want to see you use a whole skate park, string it all together with power, speed, and obviously add the most difficult tricks in there. Creativity obviously also plays a part. For example, at this event, we had 44 skaters and men, 44 skaters and women, and we must have seen about 25 or 30% of the people in the competition all did melons over the box. Varying levels. Some just a straight melon, others a crossbone. I think if you're going to do a trick where a lot of people do, just you need to try and own it and make it yours. Give it some sort of individual feel. If it is a melon, like as I said, like a lot of people did melons over the box. But that's not to say that some of the people that did melons over the box did them really, really well and that were rewarded for them. But it just means that if you just did your regular melon over the box, it wasn't really registering a lot of attention from the judges as far as being like, wow, that's an amazing trick. It's like if we're seeing the same trick over and over again, it definitely we value more to see different stuff, or if it is the same stuff just done better than everyone else. A few things. I skated this course before any of the skaters that were in the competition. And when I first skated it, I thought it was really hard to skate. Looking back at the course before Shanghai, I feel like Shanghai, as a judge, I didn't skate that because I had a sore knee. But um, looking at Shanghai, it seemed like people were battling for speed. And on my first skate in Budapest, I immediately saw the same thing. I thought the same thing. The big quarter pipes were above ground. They were like an extension above everything else. So when things like that, it means that you have to go from a smaller section to a bigger section. And because the bigger sections are better for airs, sometimes you can be inclined to really want to have more speed, and you don't really get more speed from going from a smaller obstacle. So first reflection was it felt a bit slow, which meant that you really had to get the right lines around the place. And I think once you figured out the lines, it did seem to have an endless amount of possibilities of where to go. It was like a big, massive pinball machine, with the two, with the I think they call it the pool cano and the jump box, and it was just like pinging off everywhere. And it was just really a matter of figuring out your line around that and really trying to present the obstacles that were there in the best possible way. But on the other hand, what I really thought at the end of the competition was this was the highest level of competition going to the Olympics. And I feel like for such high level skateboarders, I feel like it was a really good park to give them because it was a little bit more complex. It required more thought. And I think it brings out the best skating in the best skateboarders. I think if you have a really straightforward park, I think what you end up getting is you get a lot of tricks that you can do anywhere else just brought straight there. Whereas with this skate park, it was really like having to figure out the lines. Um, Say for example, I know with the girls, there's quite a lot of girls that can do McTwists and stuff like that. However, there was no easy line into a McTwist into this skate park in this skate park. So what it meant is if you were doing a five or a McTwist, you really had to be able to get a nice line into it. So it wasn't just achieving the trick, it was achieving a bit more because it was, yeah, you had to get to the spot, which required a bit of navigation, especially if you've only skated for a couple of days. But all in all, a very complex park and one that was really, really fun to watch people skate. It was a good one to judge because it had a lot of different obstacles, and it seemed like the more advanced the skater, the more advanced the ability to keep your speed, keep your power, keep your flow, and use the maximum possible obstacles. What a rad park. I look forward to seeing you at the Olympics. Yes. Hey, Renton here, head judge. Just going to do a little bit of a video explaining the judging today from men's prelims here in Budapest, OQS. Super hot day, insane skateboarding went down. The park is super cool. 44 best skaters in the world battling out to make the top 16 to try and make the Olympics. What an event. Hectic day. 44 skaters going at it hard. Had quite a few bail runs in there, particularly I think in the third heat. I think that was when the heat was really starting to get quite a bit gnarly. I went out there after the competition was done. I took my sunglasses off and I saw how glary the park was, and yeah, it was definitely challenging. I think you could see that in the runs that people were doing. There's a lot of people that would normally stay on that didn't stay on, or you wouldn't see so many people bail normally. That was our experience from judges. But I think that, you know, given that it was a great park, I think we could put that down to the heat. Bit of a bummer, but yeah, that's just the way it is. That's life. So just going down from the bottom, you know, I had Liam Pace in there. It looks like coming back from an injury. Euro, I tell you what, like, it was great to see someone when it was so hot still just commit to really giving it 100%, not scaling it back and not just trying to go safe. For the judges, we see a lot of people go safe and a lot of people cruise, which is fine because it's good to stay on your board, but you really get our attention when you come straight out of the gates swinging and doing your hardest stuff straight away. I didn't get too much into his run, but dropping into just pretty much kickflip indie over the gap into the deep was a great way to start the run, and didn't happen today for Euro, but yeah. Ethan Copeland, great approach to skating, great lines, just didn't happen. Dallas, it's great to see anyone of that age still competing with the younger crew. Always good to see an African as well, representing the whole continent. And yeah, Dallas, hats off to you, man. Like, seriously, it's rad. Steve Pinheiro obviously wasn't his day. I think he was in the heat that was in the heat. And yeah, from what I saw in practice, it looked like he was gearing up to skate better than what he did in Shanghai. Unfortunate, that's what happens with skating. You don't always make your stuff. It was hot. Yambaha, wow. In practice, obviously the judges always watch the practice to try and get a feel what people are doing. Just because, when it comes down to competition, to see someone skate and to try and evaluate someone's skating, everything they do, and compare it to everything that everybody else has done in the space of 20 seconds is very hard. So we watch all the practice to try and get an idea and start to think about how things are shaping up. And wow, first day practice, Yambaha was absolutely shredding. Great line, super hard tricks, quite consistent on the frontside blunt slide off the extension over the hip. And yeah, just one of those things with skateboarding. Some days you got it, some days you don't. And today bailed that frontside blunt slide off the extension. But hopefully next time. So Omar Kochalova, wow, another impressive one. I mean, anytime that you start your run with a super hammer, which obviously wasn't in the run that he actually made the full run, the kickflip off the extension into the park. I don't think you really have to explain to too many people why that is super rad, and to start a run like that is, I think that's probably the best way anyone started a run, maybe out of any of the competitions that we've had. Or maybe I think he's done it before, but if anyone wants the little fact of the best way that we've seen, some people roll into 5.0s. Tom Shah did a nose pick in today. I think, from memory, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Just kickflip straight in off the extension. That was dope. Runa, rad run using all the park. Classic Runa style. Again, I mean, older statesman of skateboarding, always a pleasure to watch. Heel flip frontside air is a classic trick that Rune really innovated and brought to people's attention. I mean, he was doing it more than anyone. He does it in such a good way, and to see him do it as one of the older skaters, if not the oldest skater in the competition, was fantastic, and was so close to making the run and ending with a heel flip cab Indy. It was that run, I think, would have scored a lot heavier if that trick was made. That was definitely going to be a heavy part of his run. Unfortunately, didn't make it. Pedro Quintus, again, wow. Very similar to Yambaha. Like, watching practice, we just saw Pedro absolutely annihilating it in every way. Use of the park, difficulty of tricks, creativity, not repeating anything, just great skateboarding. And it was unfortunate to see Pedro not make a run today. Pedro in his run, one thing I will point out, kickflip stalefish. There's a lot of different ways that you can flip and grab your board, and being a judge, being a staple trick, you see a lot of people do a lot of the same flip grabs, and not all flip grabs are created equal. And I think like a kickflip stalefish is definitely one of the ones, as far as when we see a kickflip trick, I think that's probably one of the harder tricks that we do see. So it was great to see Pedro do that. Obviously had the kickflip varial Indy in there. A great run, just a bum he didn't make it. George O'Neill, rad run, little dude. When you're skating with men such as Pedro Quintus and these these dudes that are big adults that have got power, unfortunately, when you're a younger dude, it's harder to stand out in the realms of the power and the execution and really getting around the park. George has a lot of the tricks and the foundations to be a complete shredder. I guess there's just some growth and some power and stuff like that's got to come along. But great watching you skate, George. Ash Wilkins, pretty wild to see take a slam just before his run. I think the second time in 3 events that he's taken a slam just before he's had to take a run. Dubai hung kickflip Indy in the deep, pretty hectic way to take a slam. That was pretty gnarly, and then took his run. And then I'm not too sure of the trick that he ate it on here, but I know he took a pretty hard slam just before his run, and then came out swinging, went really hard, and did a good part of his run. Big kickflip Indy, went super hard. I think a mute 540, and ended with a backs 180 Indy over the box, and on the just didn't quite pull a run. So that's a bit of a bum for Ash, but going pretty hard nonetheless. It was good. Egowitz, young dude. I think at the prior events that we've seen, Egowitz has had such amazingly good lines around the park. Like I would say in Rome, perhaps as good as anyone. I think here probably wasn't his best line around the park. Had some good use of the obstacles. So I think, just to spin off into a little tangent, there's using the obstacles and then there's using the whole park. And using the park is really about linking the obstacles, using the obstacles and also linking them together. And you can carve in a spot, carve, hit an obstacle, carve, hit another obstacle, or you can maybe link them together in a sort of more efficient and fluid kind of way. And I don't think Egowitz had the same linking of the park together. I think the body varial 360 over the box, it was a deck check, which we're always looking out for execution that's not perfect or execution that is perfect. But great skating from Egowitz. I mean, young dude, big future, skated great. But I just to give some feedback. Phoenix also skated great style, fairly good use of the park, flipping the board a few times. Rad nose grab 5. It was some great skating from Phoenix. So the next skater, so when we're judging, we are paying attention to everything, so we're not just like looking away, doing this, that, and then someone skates, we just give them a score, then just go back to it. Like we see people's response to our scores, and we know sometimes people might not be happy or they might not understand why they got a certain score. Ultimately, when a score comes in, if it's not the score someone wants, we would hope that they knew why a score was scored a certain way. Obviously, at that point in time, like, the skaters aren't like mind readers, so that's not always going to be possible. But that's why it's cool to have these videos. And I think today with Ash, one of the judges said that maybe Tyler was surprised at the result he got. Tyler, last event in Shanghai, was really rewarded heavily for a nice line around the park and really giving a lot of gas and really giving it to it where other people were maybe playing a bit safe. I think if you watch the last video that I made on Shanghai, I think I've said it in that. At this event, Tyler's line around the park wasn't as good. Execution wasn't as good. A lot of similar tricks, but not quite the same execution and not quite as nice a line. But a great run, Melon 5, kickflip Indy, frontside blunt on the quarter. It was all pretty rad. But yeah, the other thing is as well is like there's definitely difference in people's executions. Like, say for example, at this event, like that bowl can be hard to get speed on. That's for sure. Like if you're hitting that big quarter pipe, it's good for 540s, but it doesn't actually give you a heap of speed going into it. So a lot of the 540s we're seeing are a bit lower than normal, and actually there is a big difference in different people's height of 540s. And so that definitely plays a part. Like, we're looking at the height of theirs and comparing, if you're doing a 540, it's getting compared to other people's 540s, what they've done before, what they've done after it, how high it is. And it probably wasn't as big as normal and the line wasn't as good. It was still great skateboarding, and I'm only just bringing it up because one of the judges said maybe Tyler looked surprised, but great skating. So Tommy Calvert, great skating. A few tricks in there that were really just big, great execution. I think it was starting with the backside tail grab, really, really big melon five, perhaps the biggest melon five, perhaps the biggest five in the competition, I would say. And then also backside lip slide, really, really, really good backside lip slide. But what I probably want a lot of, especially younger kids, to know about when, like when we're judging this skating, it's not a vert comp. And I'm a vert skater and I love vert skating. And even in doing that, like I actually know the easiest way that you could skate a park or a bowl just like a vert ramp. What you do see with some of the kids that are just sort of cutting their teeth and figuring it all out is a lot of times they're just drawn to the big quarters and the hips, and you skate, from the extension corner to the hip to the deep end to the hip to the extension corner to the extension. You're basically just turning the bowl into like something that you can do like vert tricks on. And Tommy's vert tricks were great. They're as good as you could possibly do them, but it's a park, so we really expect you to hit all the stuff and link it all together. So, execution was great. Speed was great. Tricks were great. It's just, the use of the park wasn't quite there, but great stuff anyway. Yeah. So Yi Chen, innovative way of skating, like quite original, which the judges really, really appreciate when anyone takes a different approach to skating. We see a lot of skating. We have to differentiate between a lot of skaters. So Yi Chen does a lot of very original tricks, an original approach. Some people do a switch trick here or there, but Yi Chen can hit some key obstacles, switch. Yeah, I think you did very well, 28th place. Taylor, I think Taylor Nye, coming back from an injury, probably didn't have the same intensity as what he's had at some of the past events, but great skating. Elias Nielsen, some flashes of really good skating. Their kickflip backside disaster on the vert quarter, really, really good. That was sick. Kiko Francisco, lots and lots of tricks, back to back, linked together. Great stuff. I think in the run that he didn't make, I think it had the alley backside lip slide to Smith. Rad move. Also on alley frontside lip. There's a lot of rad stuff in there. Kiko, that was rad. Tom Martin from France, really, really good skating, like a fluent style, really, really good use of the skate park. Also had a couple of 540s in there. I think a Melon 5. Oh no, I think it was a Tail 5 and an Indy 5, if I'm not mistaken. Just great fluent skating. Good stuff. Murillo Perez. Always great to watch Murillo because when you see him skate, it's just straight off the bat, going as hard as he can. And we see a lot of skateboarding, the judges. We see a lot of people play it safe, and a lot of people just try and get things done just to get it done. Whereas Murillo, anytime he shows you something, he wants to show you the best he can possibly do it. And it means that, like, when someone skates like that, it's like, as a judge, like, you put down your pen almost for a second. Well, we actually don't. We keep writing we write everything down. But, like, you really, like, it's like the dude's going to drop in and pump as hard as he can and do every trick as well as he can. And as judges, we love to see it. I've said it in multiple other videos. If you do a trick well, if it's a really easy trick or a really hard trick, it's going to get our attention. We love to see tricks executed really, really well. Alex Mazzara just missed the cut by one. I would say some good stuff throughout the entire run. I don't want to say it was a safety run because it just contained some really rad stuff. It just didn't quite have the intensity of the skaters that were above it. So making it in the cut, the top 16 in 16th place, Andy McDonald. Wow. That was amazing skating from Andy. Like, I think older skateboarder, we've all known Andy and seen Andy skate for a long time. Obviously a long time vert skater that's always skated concrete. skating stuff that's a little bit smaller than what he's probably known for skating and was really dominated at when he was at the height of his career, even though I don't want to say that in any sort of way that implies that he's not at the height of his career now, because he had a brilliant run today. Just to see that run just so jam-packed full of stuff. Again, we were seeing people do safe stuff, safe runs, and really just trying to get their runs done, which is normal because obviously people want to stay on their boards, they want to make the Olympics, that's what they do. But straight off the bat, like he basically went for it. Consistency throughout the whole run. Like at no stage was it kind of like back off the gas. It was like the whole run, bang, 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 bang. But ended with switch slob air over the hip, fakie 540 over the jump box, which was one of the best tricks we saw all day. Frontside invert, backside bonus on the block. So some good use of the park, some tricks that nobody else did, a lot of consistency, and yeah, it was really great run to watch. And yeah, congrats Andy for making the cut, top 16. That was sick. So above Andy, we had Vincent Matheron. Really solid day of shredding from Vince. Smith grinds were immaculate. Anytime we see a great trick, a trick done super well, we're stoked to see. Again, just went for it from start to finish of his run. Had the Melon 5 over the hip, backside nose grind, frontside tail slide. I mean, they're not the hardest tricks, but he's going as fast as he can when he did it. Smith grind, it was like across half of the deep end. Yeah, so yeah, congrats Vince. That was sick. Alex Sorgente, a different sort of approach to skating the park, like really different. Hampus Wimberg in 13th. That was great to watch as well. Great run, nice one, Hampus. Thomas Augusto, 12th. Man, great to see Thomas put together a run. Been shredding like the whole time. You know, every practice we've been seeing Thomas, you know, shred really hard, particularly in Argentina. Some really good skating from Thomas. But to put it together here, that was very impressive. Straight off the bat, you know, I think he had 2 540s in there, kickflip melon, but just a lot of consistency. Didn't back off the gas, pushed really hard the whole time, and yeah, it was good to watch. So Luigi Cini, always shredding. Yeah, some you know, some classic sort of Luigi sort of stuff. I'm sure we're going to see more of it tomorrow. Good stuff. Danny Leon. Wow, Danny Leon. Like, so it's a funny little thing. Like some people are like, oh, if you do something by accident, it's just get the same score. Like to me, what Danny did today was super rad. He tried it like, so I might have got this wrong. So basically he ended up doing a hard flip indie, and not like a kickflip frontside varial indie. He accidentally flipped his board and it went, I believe it went hard flip. He grabbed indie and put it back on over the box, and he landed it smoothly. And it wasn't like he caught it upside down and flipped it the other way with his hand. It flipped fully, and then he caught it, put it to his feet, landed smoothly, pumped out of it, kept on going, and went into a kickflip frontside sailfish. And as I mentioned before, not all flip grabs are created equal, and flip sailfish is a harder one, hence why not a lot of people are doing it. And yeah, like next move was a sail flip to tail, which is not really the hardest trick, but it was just sort of good, some good filler between some other stuff. And yeah, that was some rad skating from Danny. So Kieran Woolley just put together his run super well. Just great use of the park. Just some classic sort of Kieran stuff. That was good stuff. Gavin Botka, it's a fairly good use of the park. Tricks done very well as far as the form of the tricks, as far as like the form of like when you do a leaner, like crossing it up, and McTwist was nice and clean. All very good, but I feel like on this one, Gavin didn't quite have the same speed, power as everyone else. Probably didn't do the same amount of tricks that he normally did, but yeah, great skateboarding. Augusto, like yeah, some great creative skating as usual. Like first wall, flipping his board. I think, you know, it's particularly when you're in the heat, just going straight in and flipping your board immediately, it's a risk. And yeah, full runs, mute 5 over the hip, nollie switch K grind up the over the hip, up the extension, bit of a street sort of style trick, bring it from somewhere else, trick that not really many people are doing, well, no one actually is doing it, and then bring it to an obstacle. So it's one thing to do it on the quarter pipe, it's good, but like you do it over a hip, up an extension, it's gonna, especially a trick that not many people are doing, it's gonna be cool. So that was good to see Augusta do that. So next skater, Kiefer Wilson, came straight out the gate and went pretty hard, pretty fast. Smooth style. As I was just mentioning, Mellon 5s, he did a great Mellon 5. His kickflip indie over the box was a great execution. So fourth place, Victor Solmunde, just power, like just going for it. Like judges love to see people skate as hard and fast as they can. And he does that, so that was just great to watch. Nice one, Victor. Yes. Third place, Keegan Palmer. Wow, man! Like basic tricks done well does not even begin to describe the way that a lot of the tricks that Keegan's doing. It's just like I don't think they look better in the textbook. Like just flying, just great flow, great use of the park. Just to see the way he does a frontside stand-up grind around the corner, it's so much longer than anyone else would do. He's poised, he's just relaxed. It's like, and I'm just basically choosing the easiest trick that he did in his run and just explaining like how rad it was. Frontside board slide on the extension, and of course he did like a super rad Mellon 5. Kickflip indie was probably as good as you could do a kickflip indie. Actually, I think every trick in his run was as good as you could do it. I mean, of course, you could probably do anything higher, but as far as the style and how it looked and the execution, it's just fantastic to watch. Yeah. So ahead of Keegan, not by much, was and with the scores too, like. With the scale, you can be 1 point away or 0.3, and it's not always indicative of exactly how far away you are. I thought that Keegan was pretty close to Tate. Tate, super smooth, so cool when he's skating, like cool, calm and collected. The dude can be doing 75 kilometers an hour, and he's so chill that you couldn't even pick up the fact of how fast he's going, really. Like obviously got the flip tricks in there, backside blunt slide. It was just some great skating. Shredding, nice one, Tate. First place qualifier today, Tom Shah, absolutely shredding. Some creative moves in there, frontside Starfish 3, alley, backside lip slide up the extension, kickflip into fakie. It was just a lot of rad stuff. And yeah, it's cool to see Tom super hungry, super keen. And it was an amazing day of skateboarding. Congrats to everyone. Thanks for shredding so hard. Well done. Yes. Okay, Renton here. Got a bit of recap video on today's competition, the Budapest OQS Park semi-finals for the men right now. What a rad event. Got a bit of a rain delay, but when the rain cleared, it was a super rad day of skating and had some pretty heavy consequences, defining whether some people went to the Olympics and other people didn't. But it was a rad battle to watch, and a privilege to judge. The skateboarding was amazing, and these are the best skateboarders on the planet. And yeah, absolutely humbled to be in the position of judging. So I'm going to go through in the order that they skated, just because I don't have the result list in front of me, but I have my notes. So skating first, we had Andy McDonald. Skated great yesterday, didn't quite make a run today. It was just fantastic to see Andy as an older dude just shred it up and mix it with everyone, bring his Andy Mac style of crazy tricks to the skate park, and skate with the younger dudes. It was definitely very cool to watch. So yeah, well done, Andy. That was sick. Second skater was Vincent Matheron. So Vince, seen a big improvement in Vince's skating. I don't know if Vince has been training like a maniac, skating like a maniac, but I guess from the last few events, it's definitely stepped up in this one. Just the power and the way he skated the park, the energy from start to finish, the consistent execution of the tricks, stepping up with a few tricks that he doesn't normally do, such as the Melon 540. I think perhaps the best use of the park out of anyone. Really hit the volcano in a rad way, lapping around the volcano, around the transition, not hitting the flat, straight in, straight out. As I said, the Melon 540, a few really high speed tail slides and grind, really long Smith grind, backside sugarcane in the deep, and ending with a pretty funky sort of alley-oop sort of Smith sugarcane move over the spine. So Vince had a great run, a real park style sort of run. We know that there's a lot of different styles that skate these parks. You know, you've got your vert skaters, you got your mini ramp skaters, your street skaters, your bowl skaters, and I think, you know, Vince's approach was really one of a raw park skater. And yeah, just the way he used the whole park, you know, 50-50 around the block, to late disaster coming in really, really fast. Just the way he linked everything together, put the 5 in there. It was a great run, and his score stood and he made it through to the cut, which was a credit to how he is skating, and then it's also it's obviously indicative of how he has been doing a lot of skating leading up to it, because he's shredding. So next skater we had Jagger. So to explain the criteria, Jagger has some very difficult tricks. He won in Sharjah, and so when he won that, he had the technical difficulty of the tricks was insane. At this, and then same like last event in Shanghai, very technical. The kickflip back lip in Shanghai the execution was fantastic. Solid runs, did super well. Today in practice, we could see that whatever scores we gave him yesterday had an effect on the way he skated, and he came with a way better line. So you could see that he had a lot more speed around the park. It really, you know, when you're skating a park, speed matters. It matters a lot. And you know, if you see someone that does like, and this has been, I think I've explained this to a few people, maybe even in a clarification request, but I've said it a few times. If you're 4 tricks into your run and you're slowing down, then I think the majority of the people that are setting the pace in these competitions, 4 tricks in, and they're putting their foot to the absolute floor, trying to go as fast as they can. So I guess yesterday when Jagger didn't really have the best line around the park and the most power, it really affected how his run looked and how it was. The execution of the kickflip back lip, it wasn't anywhere near as good as what he did in Shanghai. So potentially that run could have done a lot better if it had a lot of speed, a lot of power, better execution. But I think it was smart by Jagger to change his lineup today. His line around the park meant that he kept his power and speed a lot better. Like rolling in, Indy 5, alley-oop frontside ollie. It's a great trick. It looks good. And when you're pairing it with the backside 180 over the box into a switch frontside ollie, that combination it's a good combination of tricks to see in a row. And Indy 5 into that was really good. After the switch ollie, a little turnaround on the flat, I see people doing that stuff a little bit, and it can be good, but generally when you see it, people do kind of lose a little bit of speed. So if you can do a fakey 180 on the flat, or on a bank, or on a transition, you want to make sure you keep your speed. In practice, I saw Jagger do it a few times and keep his speed, get up to a kickflip backlit, really, really good kickflip backlit. So when that speed was kept on that, that was very good. And then I think there was some other stuff coming after that. I'm sure there would have been some stuff, but unfortunately, Jagger didn't make the kickflip backlit. I definitely hope that you can take that information and make something constructive out of it. Okay, so Luigi Cini looked like he battled a little bit today. Obviously, first two runs battled very early, and then the third run it looked like it lacked a bit of power and intensity in the execution. It was still a good run. It had some good stuff in it. It had some flips, kickflip Indy Melon 5, frontside feeble with lip slide. Ended with tray flip frontside stale, which is a very, very hard flip trick, but it didn't sort of have the same intensity as the skaters above him. And I think that just sort of came from the fact that it was his third last chance and he went a little bit safer. So next skater, Gavin, turned it up, great skateboarding. Next skater, Augusto, always puts in a pretty mad run. Kickflip Indy straight off the back, got the cradle air over the top end of the box, which was different. Not a lot of people hit it like that. Frontside feeble. The nollie switch K is quite an original move. He's pulled, I don't know if he's pulled it from the street, but obviously it's a trick that people do on street, and it's pretty rad when you sort of, bringing different things from different places in skating and something different, creative. It's pretty sick. Well done. Kiefer Wilson, unfortunately wasn't his day. Came up a little bit short on the kickflip frontside there, didn't make it. So obviously got punished with the bail in there. It was a pretty good solid run. I think whenever someone bails 3 times in a row, you're probably not seeing their most gnarly. Generally speaking, most people aren't busting the gnarliest stuff on their first or second or third run, or doing it until they've put a run in the bag. So you could definitely see in Kiefer, he definitely had a few basics in there. As rad as body jars and Madonnas and straight stuff like that. That potentially is going to be replaced by harder stuff once a run gets in the bag. But still, kickflip Indy over the box into an Indy 5. That was good. Everything with a lot of speed, a lot of purpose. When you're skating the ball and you're going hard, you know where you're going, you're pushing as fast as you can. All appreciated from the judges. And then at the end, he bailed the kickflip frontside air, which was fairly detrimental to his score. But Kiefer was skating good nonetheless. Well done, Kiefer. So Victor, great skating. Anytime someone drops it and just skates as hard as they can, judges are into it. Big tail grab 540. I mean, I think, if you wrote the run down on paper, it doesn't sound like the most technical run, because it wasn't. But the execution, it's just proves just how a good execution, it can take you so far. Like you do an air, you go as big as you can, it's going to leave an impact. If you skate as fast as you can, it's going to leave an impact. Frontside feeble off the extension is a trick not a lot of people are doing. It's a very difficult trick. Heel flip Indy in there, ending with the 360 Indy into the backside nose blunt. It was like a good combination, and the judges appreciated it. Like anytime you drop and go as fast as you can, it's rad. Well done. Thanks, Victor. Good to watch. Keegan Palmer, absolute shredder. Basically every wall is done that Keegan did today was done super, super well. Kickflip melon is just such a rad trick to do. Frontside kickflip melon. Lean kickflip melon is a really, really good trick. Frontside blunt slide, super hard, obviously. When you're doing tricks like a lean air and people are going, wow, that was sick, or looking at the really long frontside grind going, that was a sick frontside grind. You're doing them well if that's the case, and that's basically Keegan. Backside lip slide up the extension was great. Indy 5, nice and solid. Melon 5, obviously. And then, ending with a frontside board slide into a kickflip into fakie over the hip into the spine. That was great. So a lot of consistency throughout the whole run. Difficulty is there with some tech tricks. Execution is there. It ticked all the boxes, and that was why it ended up in first. Tate Carew, always working hard, always ripping, smooth style. Sometimes when I think I said this in the video yesterday, but sometimes when Tate skates, he's going so fast, you don't really appreciate how fast he's going because he's so chilled out. And he was going fast today. When people are doing stuff easily, sometimes you make a mistake and you think, oh, it's easy, but it's actually not easy. It's just people that have just got hyper rad amounts of skill just doing stuff very easily for them, but it doesn't take away from the execution. The tail 5 today that he did was rad. Backside tail slide seemed to get better every time. I think every run, the backside tail slide seemed to get longer and longer. I think maybe for Tate, it was just more fun and more fun. Each run that he got down, it was just like, okay, just go a little bit further, enjoy it a bit more. That was good. Mute 5, for a long time, a lot of people, and this is probably before this generation of skaters, a lot of people just went straight to a Mute 5 out of all the 5s, and it was kind of like the most done 5. And then it went into melons and nose grabs, and then more recently, less people doing Mute 5s. So when Tate does a really nice Mute 5, it's pretty rad to watch. Today's was no different. Backside blunt slide is kind of Tate's trick. It's a dope trick, and ending with the 5-0 revert or the 5-0 to fakie. I think the 5-0 revert was the run that scored higher, but both of those tricks are super dope. Frontside 5-0 to fakie, that was sick. Okay, so Tom Shah, another person, superhuman being, doing superhuman things. Okay, so kicking off the run with the frontside sail 3, not a very regularly done trick. Into a melon 5, super rad combo. Couple of mellow tricks and lolly over the box, alley bolly, but then into a heel flip Indy. And I probably would say, if there's anything that sort of Keegan sort of had Tom was on that sort of line of those tricks that weren't as intense as other parts of his run. Heel flip Indy wasn't quite as big. I mean, I'm picking holes in a run that was absolutely insane, but I'm just sort of let you get inside the head of judges a little bit. Tail grab 540 was big, bad, was rad, was sick. So that was really cool. The frontside grind over the hip, that was sick. Kick flip Indy to fakie was rad. And ending with a frontside blunt, but super solid run. And it's just amazing to watch all these skaters skate together, bring their own personal styles, and show skateboarding off to the world. It was really good to watch. But yeah, that was a fantastic day, and look forward to tomorrow. Yes. So I'm going to give you a bit of a rundown of how the judges were thinking in the scores that we made. So first of all, I'm just going to go through the rank order of the skaters, and then I'll go through my notes. So from the bottom, we had Vincent Matheron, great park style skater, in great form, who has great use of the park. It's amazing that he is skated so well, made the final. I think he's been injured and he's back and fit and raring to go. And it was great to watch Vincent skate the last few days, and great to see him make the cut. As it was to see Victor Salmonde, the young dude from Denmark that skates with his foot to the floor the whole time. It's a great approach, very fun to watch, and the judges have been stoked to watch Victor's progress and see him shred so hard. Kieran Woolley, great use of the skate park, some very original tricks, very consistent, a lot of consistency throughout all of his runs, and in 6th place. 5th place, Augusto Accio, very creative skater, very naturally talented, spontaneous, changing his line almost every time we go to a new phase, and always doing tricks that are a little bit different, original, creative kind of tricks. 4th place, we had Gavin Bocker, I thought Gavin skated amazingly well today. A great combination of tricks linked together, a lot of difficulty. I thought Gavin killed it. I think between Gavin and Tate was very, very close. Tate, absolutely shredding, super smooth style. Added a few new tricks from the last round and ended with a 540 ollie. Super hard trick. Tate's got a super smooth style and he killed it. It's rad to see him on the podium. So the next skater, Tom Shah. So came out swinging with a stale 3, melon 5, ollie back over the box into the alley-oop kickflip indie, heel flip indie. A lot of consistency in there. I think he probably wasn't pumping as hard as he absolutely could. And that's just to be hypercritical and compare it to Keegan, who may have been pumping harder. I think he was pumping harder, was giving it more gas. So yeah, the tail 5, I mean, these are all great moves. I'm just being hypercritical because we're just breaking down exactly why the judges sort of scored the way they did. So the tail 5, front side 5-0, off the hip and to the alley-oop lip. The alley-oop lip is mind-boggling. Just the line that he takes to do it, how quick he does it, it's just sick. Front side stalefish, tail up the hip, up the extension, kickflip into fakie. And basically ending with the front side blunt. Kickflip into fakie, grind off over the hip and into a frontside blunt. It was a solid run. We know that Tom had more stuff coming, more in the tank after that if he wanted. But that was enough to go very, very high. Amazing run. And so with the judges too, like we basically in practice, before the event, the judges are looking and considering what could be done. So we're thinking about all the stuff that we know that Tom Shah could do, where he could do it, and say someone like Gavin or Victor or Keegan would be thinking the same thing about them. What could they possibly do? Like if they were just having the best day of their life, what would they do? And so we're thinking, he might do this, might do that, and if this person does this and that, then how does that compare? Really just trying to take care of all the decision making before it happens, because when it gets thrown down and we've got 30 seconds to score and being asked to judge a trick that is absolutely insane versus another trick that's insane, that's led in by another bunch of different tricks, it takes a little bit of thought. So we try and do our best to consider everything that could be done, think about where it would stack up versus all the other guys, and then just apply those that preparation in that 30 seconds we were given to score. And when we had to compare Tom and Keegan, that definitely came into play, because they're both insane skaters. They're probably as skilled as you possibly could ever be on a skateboard. They're as consistent as you could be on a skateboard, and they were both very, very keen to do as well as they could at this event. And I think obviously they're going to do the same thing at the Olympics. So we'll be doing the same thing. We'll be trying to consider every single thing that they could possibly do. Keegan, so alley-oop fronts are there, classic skateboarding, rad, over the hip, drifted along, nice and high. Kickflip lean melon, just the way it was executed was immaculate. It's a very difficult flip grab. It was done very, very well, and it's not a trick done by a lot of people. I think on that particular obstacle, nobody else did that flip trick. On paper, it's not the hardest trick, but given the height, the spot, and the execution, that all brought a lot to that particular trick. Into a frontside blunt on the extension, frontside blunt slide. Keegan's got frontside blunt slides that are very, 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 very good, very well, very consistent. and then straight into the lean melon on the spine. I think, really the presentation that Keegan has in his skateboarding is almost next to none. Everything is presented as just classic, great skateboarding. And it means it's great to watch. And that doesn't just come from being born with a certain style. That comes with presenting the form of your airs in a way, like, so if you're going to do a bow air, just push it as hard as you can. Also comes with how big you're going to go. So if you go as big as you can and you give the air some really good form and you land right, it's going to bring a trick that's a basic, and it can make a basic trick more than a basic trick. So back to it anyway. So into a frontside 5-0, basic trick, just done very, very well. Into a kickflip indie, not the hardest trick, but definitely not an easy trick. A trick that Keegan does very, very well. A trick that was done on a part of the park that was original and creative, so some good use of the park there. And then doing a backside lip slide up the extension, so using the skate park. There was the backside Smith in there as well. So backlip up the extension at speed, using a bit of the park, linking together stuff. Was pretty sick. Into the front set on the volcano. So again, using another part of the park. So I don't think Tom used the volcano. I don't think we sat there and went like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, because you could always make up for something with something else in a different sort of part of the criteria or a different part of skateboarding. But it just meant that with Keegan hitting that part of the skate park, it meant that he had that part covered. And so it's quite a nice front set there, decent size on the volcano. Okay, so then we had the Stale 540. The execution of the Stale 540, the landing was quite violent. It was like bang, but it was like power, passion, commitment, like just boom, just really put it down. Was mad, was rad. Then came back, kickflip frontside air. So landing in the mini section. So I personally find landing in mini sections like harder than landing in a deep section. And then obviously, kickflip frontside air requires a an element of fine motor skills after already getting so deep in the run. I feel like the deeper into the run you get, the harder it is to dig deep and get those motor skills absolutely perfect. So when you bring tricks that are quite that you are using those very fine motor skills, such as a kickflip frontside air, we need to flip it pretty quickly, need to catch it, and the way Keegan puts it on tuck knee, it's just quite a precise move, and it's quite deep into the run. So like when you're we start getting a bit tired, it becomes a little bit harder to get that accuracy, and it was there. And then dropped out the frontside board slide in that particular run, and then finished with the alley-oop 270 indie to fakie. So that's a trick you don't see too often, and it was done really, really well. And it was a type of trick that I don't think anybody else did any 360 backside moves to fakie. I know Tom did a backside 360 ollie, but it was after time. So when you're talking variety of tricks within Keegan's run, you had sort of some classic moves such as the alley-oop frontside air. You had the big classic lean air. You had some lip tricks in there, so that when they did the lip tricks, they also had a good use of the park. Like so the backside lip slide up, frontside blind slide. Also showing a good technical lip side of things. But then you also had the flip tricks, and so when you had the flip tricks, you had flip tricks that were executed extremely well, and you had flip tricks that were very good looking flip tricks, And then as well, of course, you had the 5 in there, and yeah, and then ending with the alley-oop 270 to fakie. There's a lot of stuff to think about, but I think it was quite clear that Keegan had it, and it was great to watch. Yeah, well, like, I think the judges really were prepared to have to really, really, really think, because I think Tom did have more that he could have done. Keegan also had more. But I think when they both produced those runs, it was pretty clear straight away that Keegan had it. Yeah, I mean, great skateboarding. I think, hopefully I'm not rambling on too much. Hopefully you got something from it, and hopefully you had a great event, and I hope to see you in Paris. Yeah, wicked. Thank you.